Just wait for the machine to... Yep, there we are, Leader.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of Cabinet on 15th of July 2021. We'll begin with apologies for absence.
I haven't had any, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any from the floor? No, okay. We'll move on to disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Are there any interests to declare today? Sorry, David, we can't hear you at the present time. We'll just wait a second for Councillor Hopkins to return. I know he's had problems with IT this morning. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, sorry, I'd like to declare an interest in item 7 as it named on the report.
Okay, thank you. Any other declarations?
Yeah, item 7, I've got dispensation from the Standards Committee to stay and speak but not vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others before we move on? No, okay, thank you. Next is on to the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 1 to 6. I've had no notification of any changes. Can I ask somebody to move as a true record, please?
Happy to move.
Happy to move.
Seconder? Thank you. All in favour? Thank you very much. Those are agreed. Okay, on to announcements of Leader of the Council. I have one announcement this morning. Members will be aware that we have recently been served with a judicial review with regard to the skate park in Swansea. And members will also be aware that we've conceded that judicial review to avoid a lengthy and costly judicial review process. We have since had quite a bit of public interest, obviously, in wanting to know what happens next. And again, I just wanted to be clear that given that the original decision was quashed, obviously officers will now prepare the necessary documentation and processes and bring a report back to Cabinet for us to consider a new decision on the skate park. But again, I have made a public comment today, which just underlines the fact that the Council's ambition is still to see a fantastic skate park facility in Swansea, and that we always, wherever possible, represent the democratic view of the will of the majority of people of Swansea, and not only those people who happen to live near facilities or have the wealth and affordability to be able to afford houses on the seafront. So again, I just wanted to be really clear here that our ambitions have not changed, but we have conceded that the judicial review would be quashed, the decision would be quashed, and that obviously we will now look to bring forward a report so that we can consider a new decision. Okay, and we'll now then move on to item 5, which is public question time. Are there any questions from members of the public today?
None, Leader.
Okay. We'll move on then to councillor question time. Are there any councillor questions for today?
No, there's no other members present, Leader.
Okay, thank you. With members' indulgence, I intend to just rearrange the agenda slightly. So I would propose that we bring forward reports 13 and 14 before item 7. That is in order for those reports to be considered, because they're in my name and I have to leave this meeting, unfortunately, before 10:30 this morning to meet a minister. So with the Cabinet's agreement, then we'll move to item 13, which is the Skills and Talent City Deal report. Very, very pleased to see this report here today. As you know, we signed the £1.3 billion City Deal some 3 years ago, and since then we've been heavily involved in delivering what were 11 projects but are now 9 projects within the City Deal. This is the latest one to receive ministerial approval, and it's a cross-cutting project which runs throughout the City Deal. So it's if you like, another golden thread, just as the digital project was, which brings together the activities to ensure that the projects that we are delivering as part of the City Deal within our local and regional economy, we develop people with the skills and the talents and the abilities in the areas where we currently have skills gap, or where we are creating a new economy, or enhancing the regional economy, diversification of our local economy, so that we make sure that the people who come through our educational systems, through our colleges and our universities, will be going into the workplace with the skills to be able to fill the economy, jobs and opportunities that will exist in our region as we deliver the city deal. So a hugely important project. We've got a very good record within Swansea already of creating opportunities through the Beyond Bricks and Mortar scheme, but it's clear that aligning our educational systems with what the universities and colleges can do will put us in a very, very strong position to grow our economy in future years. So very, very pleased to see this here. The recommendations are before you there. I'll give you the page number in a second, but I'll happy to move the report, and I'll go to Councillor Smith to second.
Yeah, happy to second this report, because I think it's part of an important policy development where we've been linking the skills needs of the economy to the provision in our schools and our colleges, and the education provision more generally. There are exciting, high quality job opportunities going to be created in the city region. And I think it's crucial that our own young people, our own people of all ages indeed, are able to access those and benefit from them. And I fully endorse the report and the strategy that underpins it. So happy to second, Leader.
Many thanks, Councillor Smith. Is there anybody else who wishes to comment on the report? If not, then the recommendations are on page 248. And could we launch the vote, please, Mr. Bozeman?
Yeah, just launch the vote now, Leader. Excuse me. Yeah, it should be live now, so members should be able to see it. Can everybody see it?
Yeah. Gareth, the vote has come to me, but I'm not the voting member today.
Yeah, that's okay. Just
ignores it.
Yeah, just delete it.
Okay.
Press the cross. Thanks, Councillor. Has everybody voted? Yeah, I'll close the vote now then. I can't close it. That's unanimous, Leader, 4.
Many thanks. Okay, we'll now go on then to the next item, which is agenda item 14. And this is Shaping Swansea, and it contains the recommendations to appoint a new development partner. I'll just give a little bit of context, and I want to call Mr. Smith in then to give some advice to Cabinet on this report. So as you'll see there, there are recommendations around appointment of our strategic sites development partner. Members will be aware that we have already a significant £1 billion development programme underway in Swansea City Centre, but this report covers the development of the 7 sites that we marketed, which are strategic sites, including phase 2 of Copper Bay, the Civic Centre site, the St Thomas Station site, and some other really significant sites to bring the next phase of development forward. And obviously, we wanted to go on that journey with a partner who can ensure that we deliver at pace and at scale developments in Swansea to create further opportunities to live, work and enjoy in our city. So that's what the report is for. There are 4 recommendations on page 371, but I'll pause there now and I'll ask Mr. Smith to come in, because Mr. Smith will give us a 151 officer and financial advice in terms of the report that's before us today.
Thank you, Chair. I can be very brief on this item because I'm limited in what I can say in the public session. I draw your attention in particular to the 4th recommendation and the last part of it, which refers to updating the financial position. In informing your view on this report, which you are able to take a decision today, I ask that you are mindful of the written advice I've given in the exempt item 15, and I will give further advice in the private session on that matter. It contains a number of commercially sensitive matters which would be inappropriate for me to disclose. the preferred bidder has made information available to me, which is helpful, but I can only give that advice in private session. So that's the only matter I need to put on the record for the public session, Chair. And thank you for calling me in.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And really, again, I'm not going to say too much on this at this stage in time, but other than to say, obviously, we've reached another crucial milestone in terms of being able to take a decision to appoint the bidder. As Mr. Smith said, he will give further advice in the closed part of the session. But again, it's another firm milestone in our development journey for Swansea. So I'm happy to move. I look to my colleagues for somebody to second, please. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Does anybody wish to comment? If not, I'll ask Mr. Bosden to go to the vote, please.
Yes, leader. Just launch the vote now. Anyway, the vote's launched. Can everybody see it? Has anybody not had it? No, okay. Has everybody had a chance to vote? Okay, I'll close the vote now. And again, that's a unanimous for the recommendation, leader.
Okay, many thanks. Okay, we'll return now to item 7 on the agenda, which is, pardon me, the local government appointments. If any members have declared interest on this item, obviously they're entitled to leave. But if not, I'll go to Councillor Smith.
I'm having trouble with my buttons. Yeah, happy to move the report, leader.
Many thanks, Councillor Smith. If there's nothing further to add, then I'm happy to second. And Mr. Bosden, can we go to the vote?
Yep, certainly. Just launched the vote now, so it should be on screen for you. Can everybody see it, or has anybody not had it?
I did not vote, Gareth.
No,
as you know.
no. Just give everyone a chance to vote. Just close the poll now. So, yeah. Obviously, the 2 members didn't vote, but otherwise it's unanimous for, leader.
Okay, thank you again. Thank you, colleagues. That's again carried. So we'll move to item 8, which is the annual performance monitoring report. But I'll pause. I think has any member left the meeting? Are we waiting for anybody to come back in? Are we okay?
We're waiting for David to join.
Okay, yeah, if we could bring Councillor Hopkin back in.
There we are. Councillor Hopkins rejoined, leader.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move then to item 8, which is the annual performance monitoring report, and I'll go to Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Leader. I'm pleased to bring this report to Cabinet today. It is a broad report, but I'll touch on a few areas, and I'm sure colleagues will want to elaborate on their own portfolios. I know you've all been heavily involved in every area of this report, be it in your role as Cabinet members, chairs, or as part of the volunteering effort as councillors. And I think we can be proud. I am proud of all that we've accomplished this past year under extreme circumstances. There's no doubt that we faced the greatest public health crisis we have seen in our lifetimes. It has been a very difficult time for us all, many dealing with great loss. The coronavirus pandemic resulted in significant change and disruption to our services and workforce. I'm pleased to say that in the face of such huge challenge, performance did improve in more than half our services, and in very little time we had transformed the way we work. I must commend the outstanding achievements of Sarah, Jo, and our entire ICT team, both the work they have done over the past year and the speed with which they were able to transition everyone to working from home. I also believe our digital and cloud-first approach that we used in the period leading up to the pandemic vastly improved our resilience. It also meant that residents could continue to access services online or via call centres throughout the pandemic, which proved to be essential. Outstanding work was undertaken in our communities by Sue Reid and her team, as well as all the staff that were remobilised to support our residents through the pandemic. They created a new generation of food banks, which provided a lifeline for vulnerable and shielding residents. Local area coordinators, alongside local councillors and SCBS, were instrumental in creating volunteer networks of almost 2,500 residents across the county. They responded to more than 20,000 requests for help from people isolated in the first part of the pandemic. The Gysined Local Food Hub was one of these. They started out as a small team of volunteers with very little experience, but a common goal to help their communities in their time of need. And they grew into something amazing that proved to be a lifeline to many. Our social care services rose to meet unprecedented challenges, which none of us could ever have imagined. I'm sure you'll agree that what they achieved was incredible. We recruited more staff, opened 2 care homes, and provided vital support to the private sector. Lockdown was, as we know, a hard time for many financially. We helped to provide £130 million of support to help businesses throughout. We also continue to provide the day-to-day services that people depend on, services such as maintaining curbside recycling and waste collections where many other local authorities cannot. Although it is important to recognise that there will be areas of improvement in the months ahead, I do not want to detract from the outstanding effort our staff have put in to safeguard and support the people of Swansea over the last 16 months. It's my firm belief that throughout this pandemic, we have seen the very best of the people of Swansea. Our community has pulled together to help one another, checking up on neighbours' well-being and supporting community initiatives like food banks and free hot meal deliveries. It would be remiss of me not to thank Richard and Gordon, a team of only 2, for their excellent work in pulling this report together. They ensured that performance across the council was accurately reported, regularly assessed and high on everyone's agenda. From this, we can strive to keep making improvements. I want to commend our entire workforce for the tenacity, adaptability and leadership shown through exceptional circumstances over the last 16 months. They've been instrumental in producing a report of this standing and will continue to be there side by side with the people of Swansea through the recovery. Although this report is about reflection, I want to look forward to emerging from this pandemic. We have a £20 million recovery plan that will help build on the transformation of council services, and I believe will ensure that no one is left behind. And I want to reassure residents that the council will continue to support them in the challenges ahead. Happy to move the report.
Well, thank you, Councillor Stevens. I'm sure other Cabinet members will no doubt want to comment as well, because it has been a remarkable performance across the whole council, as you quite rightly say, across all departments in terms of how they've not just dealt with the pandemic, but kept up the performance of the day-to-day services at the same time, which has been an incredible effort. So I'm very proud of what we've achieved as a council and what we continue to do for the people of Swansea. So I got a few hands up. I'll formally second, and then I'll go first to Councillor Francis Davis, then Councillor Gibbard, then Councillor Mark Thomas.
Thank you, Leader. It's often said by us that our best asset is our staff, and no truer statement could be made than through this pandemic. But also the leadership of this council, yourself, Leader, working with our corporate management team. We've had to sort of reinvent services in many ways. Our social services, our carers have been outstanding. Our education has been outstanding. In fact, I don't think there's any part of the local authority that hasn't risen to the challenge of the way they work, whether it's our refuse collection that have gone right through this pandemic, making sure that our streets are cleared of all rubbish, and they've done an excellent job. So I'm very proud of our staff. I'm proud of the way you've led, but also the way that you've informed people. So whether it's from the Director of Place, the Director of People, Head of Social Services, but also I think our business section have relied on money coming through, and Ben Smith, our Section 151 officer, the staff have been really outstanding. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Francis Davis. Councillor Gibbard.
Thank you. I don't want to repeat too much of what's already been said, but just wanted to draw attention to section 4.4 of the report, which outlines, the incredibly difficult circumstances that households and families and individuals in Wales have found themselves in, with the falling incomes and rising costs and the worry of personal debt increasing. But obviously it also then goes on to outline the support that the council has given to try and do our best to mitigate some of that, particularly our employability and our welfare rights teams, and of course, as been already mentioned, the local area coordinators and the fantastic partnership working that kicked in to deal with the pandemic, and we've learned so many lessons from that, and are hopefully going to keep a lot of these partnerships going into the future. So again, really happy to support this report and to see what we've done in such difficult times.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Gibbard. Councillor Thomas, and then I'm going to go Councillor Child and Councillor King.
Yes, thank you, Leader. It's just an opportunity for me, and I suppose all our cabinet colleagues. We need an awful long time to be able to go through the report and thank everyone and every department that's been involved in reaching what we've achieved over the last 12 months and longer. It's really I don't there's too many people and too many members of staff and managers and departments to thank to go through it, and I don't want to be selfish and just focus on my own portfolio, because that would be unfair to all the other services that have been delivered. Everybody's equally put in tremendous effort across every arm of the authority, and I'm just in awe of the staff and the efforts that they put in, and our adaptability as a council, because we've had to think very, very quickly on our feet, and many people are carrying out things that they weren't 18 months ago, but they've adapted, they haven't complained, they've got on with it, and that's enabled us to be fleet of foot and able to react to the needs of the residents that we represent and support. I think a lot of things have come out of this last 12-18 months in our learning and perhaps where we value things as well. And it's clear that we are fortunate in Swansea. We've got acres and acres of green space, beaches, accessible to all, and the real importance of it. Maybe 2 years ago we took it for granted to a certain extent, and I really think that's come to the fore, and everybody appreciates the importance of all that green space and the accessibility of it. Active travel routes, I think people just accepted that we were increasing them, but when you look at figures of active travel during the height of the pandemic, six-fold increase in utilization and usage of those routes, for example, and it's just changed the emphasis slightly and our focus on what the important things are and how that has come to the fore as a highly important and valued asset that we've got, and that's something certainly we will look to continue to value and to increase the accessibility right across Swansea. So it's just we've learned a lot through this pandemic, but most importantly, we've been able to adapt and to serve the people that we represent in achieving all of these things, throughout this difficult period. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Child.
Thank you, Leader. I'm sure I've said this before. I'm sure I'll say this again, perhaps even before the end of this meeting. But the social care staff have been at the front line of services to our most vulnerable and concerned citizens throughout Swansea this year. Their dedication has been remarkable. Many of them have been retasked to do jobs that they hadn't been doing before. Many of them in very traumatic circumstances, to be quite honest, ones which we would never normally wish our staff to be involved with. But they've gone there, they've done it, and many people have been very grateful for the assistance they've provided. They've worked well with health, voluntary services, volunteers, local organisations, as Councillor Gibbard, as local area coordinators, as Councillor Gibbard has already said. I think it's shown what the value of care workers is. I mean, they're often a forgotten element of the workforce, but they are key workers, and I hope going forward that their status and their reward improves. They deserve it.
Yeah, fully agree with that, Councillor Child. Councillor King?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I think I really want to associate myself with the comments of other colleagues, and particularly Councillor Child and the contribution social care staff have made. I think the picture in Child and Family Services remains challenging right across Wales, and I think staff have done a fantastic job to respond to that challenge and keep us on an even keel, and make sure that even during the pandemic we've continued to improve and also reform our services to deliver the best that we can for the young people and children in the city. And I think we owe a lot to our staff for that. So I just wanted to associate myself with the comments made. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King, absolutely. Okay, I've got Councillor Lewis, then Councillor Smith, then Councillor Hopkins.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I will be brief, but it would be remiss of me not to refer to the increase in affordable housing units in Swansea during this very difficult time, the increase in hours of apprenticeships and traineeships, and beyond bricks and mortar, the weeks of training. Through what has been probably one of the most difficult periods, we are still improving. But the performance indicator that I'm most proud of is the number of days families with children have spent in B&Bs has reduced radically compared to the previous year. And this is credit to our housing teams working on the ground, who've been working tirelessly throughout the last 16 months and will continue to do so. The improvement is on a scale which is unprecedented. And so I wanted to highlight that today. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Excellent work. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I'd like to echo a lot of what's been said before, because I think the contribution made by our own officers, by schools and other providers throughout the year has been an unprecedented year. And the way people have been flexible, people have looked at solutions, created solutions, thought outside the box. It shows the quality of staff we've got across Swansea, and to have achieved what we've been able to achieve and put some of the support mechanisms in place so quickly and so responsively, I think is a tribute to the staff we have and the support we as a council have been able to give them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Finally, Councillor Hopkin.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Could I think it would be rather remiss of me not to share everybody's comments here, particularly with our staff, but our leadership, with yourself, but also senior management. I think there's never been a better time that the senior management actually stepped up and worked very closely with the trade unions. I'm really proud of our record through this, the way that we've worked tirelessly, not just to keep members of the public safe, but to actually keep our staff safe as well. And I think we've done an incredible job working together as a partnership. And I think we'd also like to add, I think it shows the value of the trade union, good negotiations, working with them in partnership. But I would like to put on record my thanks, because this virus attacked the most vulnerable. And I would like to put on record my thanks to Councillor Andrea Lewis, the way that she worked tirelessly with the homeless to get as many people, vulnerable people, off the streets and work closely to try to help them. And Alison Pugh, for her efforts, particularly with the food banks and feeding our most vulnerable. So, and the list is not exhaustive. And I think Councillor Clive Lloyd and Councillor Mark Child, the way they've worked, I think is exceptional. So I just think it's been a difficult year, but I think it's made us bigger, better, and stronger. Hopefully, we'll continue to work in this partnership arrangement going forward, and we'll be a better city after it, hopefully. So my thanks to all.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hopkins. Fully agree, and it's always a risk. That's why I try not to single individuals out, because you're always at risk of leaving people out who you wish you'd mentioned. So the people, I'm sure that the sentiment is there. We are so proud of the teams of politicians, of senior staff, of our trade unions, of our partners, of our third sector partners, of everybody who's put their shoulder to the wheel to get us through this terrible pandemic. So a fantastic effort by all. So thank you for that. And again, the report has been moved and seconded, so we'll now ask Mr. Bosden to launch the vote.
Yeah, just launch the vote, Leader. Should be on screen now for you. Has anyone not received it? No? Okay, good. Just give you time to vote. I'll just close the poll now. Again, Leader, that's unanimous for the recommendation.
Okay, many thanks all. Okay, at this point then I'm going to hand over to Councillor Hopkins to take over the chair of the meeting, and Councillor Hopkins will begin with item 9, the West Glamorgan Regional Carer Strategy. So thank you all. I need to leave now. Thank you.
Thanks, Leader. If I could introduce item 9, could I ask Councillor Mark Child, please?
Thank you, Chair. West Glamorgan Regional Carers Strategy. We should all know about the increased extra work of unpaid carers throughout the pandemic. I said I was going to say this again, and I will. And I think we want to start by thanking unpaid carers for their dedication, hard work, and love that they have put in this last year, often isolating with the person that they are caring for. All too often, caring goes unrecognised and unsupported and unrewarded. And increasingly, and long overdue in my book, society is recognising that the work of carers is of value. And I think the quote of the value it says on page 11 of the document sums up where we want to be, and that carers are treated with kindness, dignity, and respect. This is a refreshingly well presented document in plain language, ambitious and realistic too. Developed, co-produced through the pandemic with carers' involvement, and it's been really worthwhile. And I hope they can sustain it through the 5 years, and that will be a measure of the success of it itself if they sustain the level of involvement of carers for that time. I think the vision is that carers are identified, recognised, supported to care. They have a life alongside caring and have a feeling of well-being through their caring journey. And the mission that they've agreed, and I hope we will, that they will work together to improve the well-being of carers in West Glamorgan by listening, learning, being supportive and delivering change through the regional partnership that meets the rights and needs of carers. This was presented earlier this week at the annual Wales Social Service Conference as an example of leading work in the area. And I just want to praise everybody that brought this together. You will know that this goes to us, Neath Port Talbot Council and Swansea Bay University Health Board as the 3 statutory partners in the regional partnership. I think it's already been passed by the other 2. I fully anticipate you agreeing with it, but I move it.
Okay, it's been moved. Can I have a seconder?
Formally second.
Yeah, happy to second. Yeah.
Okay. Any comments? No. Thanks, Councillor Child. Could I ask Gareth to go to the vote?
Yes, just hold it up now. So just launch the vote now, everyone. It should be on the screen for you. Has anybody not received it? No, okay. I'll just close the poll then. And again, that's unanimous for the recommendation.
Thanks, Gareth. Can I then call on item 10, Councillor Child?
Thank you, Chair. West Glamorgan Regional Co-Production Framework I'd like to propose in the same vein as the last one, to be honest. It's refreshing, well presented, plain language, ambitious and realistic. It consists of a framework which gives agreed definitions, a toolkit for the users, service users, carers and frontline staff to use to work out how to co-produce together, and a charter for organisations and leaders such as us to demonstrate our commitment to co-production. This again was presented as a piece of leading work in the area at the Wales Social Services Conference this week. And I listened to Lee, and I'm sorry, I haven't got Lee's surname, but he was the chair of providers and users across, for the group that brought this up, co-produced this together. And he was proud of the work involved in creating this. His hopes was that there was an ongoing influence of this work, and that he was sure that co-production was the way forward. It wasn't, and the real question is not whether or not we co-produce, but how well we co-produce. And I think this document is a really good tool to ensure that we do this to the best of everybody's ability, to the maximum benefit of everybody, because we know the benefit of being involved in the decisions around you, how that helps people, enables them, empowers them, and gives them hope, and generally helps their well-being. So I move this the same as it's been moved in Swansea Bay University Health Board and Newport Talbot Council. I'm sure Swansea Council will back this as well.
Thanks, Councillor Childs. Councillor Gibbard, do you want a second?
Thank you. Yeah, I'd really love to second this report. I think it's an excellent piece of work, and like the last item as well, you know, has been done with people, not to people, which is the whole principle of co-production. And I would really, you know, like us to hopefully use this to build on how we can roll out co-production in other areas of council work. We are committed to producing a cross-council co-production strategy, and I think this gives us a really good template that we can build on that, because obviously, as Councillor Charles said, it's all about empowering people, making better decisions, being more responsive to our residents' needs, which is you know exactly what we want to do as a council as a whole.
Any other comments? It's been moved and seconded. Could we launch the vote?
Yeah, just launch the vote now. Should be on screen for you. Anybody not received it? No. Just give you a couple of minutes. There we are. I'll close the poll now. And again, that's unanimous for the recommendation.
Okay, thanks. Then on to item 11, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. Just very briefly, a process was carried out to establish an all-Wales framework for asbestos surveying, inspection services, testing, analytical services and removal of asbestos works. Swansea Council is the lead authority across the whole of Wales, and all local authorities may utilise the framework for asbestos removal and testing, and we've led on this framework for a number of years. But it's not insubstantial. Over a 4-year period, this contract is worth in excess of £20 million. And given the importance of health risks involved in these activities, it's essential that we take the lead on this framework, given the expertise within the department to ensure compliance to current regulations in relation to the safe management and removal of asbestos, all of which is notifiable to the Health and Safety Executive. So very pleased to bring this report here today, and I move the report and refer members to the recommendations on page 200.
Thanks, Councillor Lewis. Do you have a seconder for the report?
Formally second.
Thanks. Okay, Gareth, could we then move to the vote, please?
Yes, certainly. Just launch the vote now. So it should be on screen. Has anybody not received it? Okay, give you a moment to cast your votes. I've just closed the poll now. And again, that's unanimous for the recommendation.
Okay, that brings us on to item 12. I believe this is in the leader's report, but in his absence, is anybody else going to run through it, or shall I take it? You haven't asked somebody else? No. Could I just, in presenting the thing, just highlight there are 3 recommendations here on page 234. I'm more than happy to move the report. And can I have a seconder?
I'll formally second.
Okay, thanks. Any comments? Okay, if we go to the vote, please.
Yep, just launch the vote now.
Thanks.
Should be on screen. Anybody not received it? Okay. Close the poll now. And again, that's unanimous for the recommendation.
Okay, thanks. If we then go on to item, oh, sorry, we want straight on to exclusion of the public. It's all all laid out. Can I have a show of hands? Are we happy to go into private session?
Yeah, formally move the resolution.
Okay, happy to second. All agreed? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Please